It was July 4th, 2007, and I was 16 years old with absolutely nothing planned for the night. My older sister, Alicia, was 9 years older than me, and she was getting ready to leave for some huge party upstate. I remember hearing it referred to as the Rockaway Bomb Show, an event where a massive crowd of people in their 20s would gather to drink, socialize, and watch fireworks. For me, that sounded like the exact kind of place I wanted to avoid. I was a shy kid. I wasn't comfortable around large groups, especially strangers, and the thought of spending an entire night surrounded by college students and recent graduates made my stomach tighten. But when Alicia found out I had nowhere to go, she unexpectedly invited me. She was going with her boyfriend, Alex, and I think part of her motivation was to get me out of my shell. "Come with us," she said. I wasn't convinced. I was 16. They were all adults. And this wasn't some quiet family gathering. It was supposed to be a huge drinking party. Still, Alicia somehow managed to guilt me into going. We would be staying at a motel afterward, so I packed some clothes and whatever else I needed for the night. Less than 2 hours later, I heard a car horn outside. Alicia and Alex were ready. The drive took close to 4 hours. For most of it, I remember feeling increasingly unsure about the decision I had made. By the time we finally arrived, daylight was almost gone. The sky had turned a brilliant orange as the sun dropped toward the horizon. Then we turned onto a road that looked like it barely belonged there. There was a sign pointing toward the fireworks show. Fireworks show this way. As soon as Alicia rolled down the window, I could hear the crowd. Voices, music, shouting. The distant roar of hundreds of people gathered somewhere beyond the trees. Then we passed through the tree line and entered a huge clearing. A portable stage stood ahead. Tables were scattered across the grass, along with a food and drink bar. People in their early 20s filled almost every open space, many of them already holding beers or other alcoholic drinks. Alicia parked directly on the grass because there wasn't really a parking lot. It was basically a free-for-all. I stepped out of the car, looked across the crowd, and immediately felt like I had made a terrible mistake. Alicia and Alex walked into the crowd, and within minutes they happened to run into some friends they knew. Their friends already looked drunk. They introduced me, and I tried to make conversation. I didn't really know what to say, so I mostly stood there and listened while everyone else talked over one another. Then Alicia handed me a beer. I accepted it nervously. At 16, I knew I shouldn't have been holding it, and that thought became even more uncomfortable when I took my first sip and noticed people looking at me. Not everyone, just enough. A few strange glances. A couple of people seemed to stare a little longer than they should have. I immediately wondered if somebody was going to ask my age, so I stayed close to Alicia and Alex. For about 15 minutes, they were my safety net. If someone spoke to me, I could stay near them. If I felt uncomfortable, I could disappear into the crowd beside them. Then, almost without warning, both of them split up. Alicia began talking to some random people. Alex wandered off and started another conversation. And suddenly, I was alone. I stood there surrounded by hundreds of people who seemed to know one another, laughing, drinking, and moving between the tables. And I was 16. I probably looked even younger. I remember feeling like an awkward middle school kid who had somehow wandered into an adult party without permission. Then someone put a hand on my shoulder. I turned around, expecting to see Alicia or Alex. It wasn't either of them. The man standing behind me looked completely out of place. He appeared to be somewhere in his 40s or 50s. He was balding and wore glasses. There was something about him that immediately made me uncomfortable. If I had to describe him at the time, I would have said he looked almost like a creepy priest who had somehow ended up at a college party. Before I could say anything, he took the beer directly out of my hand. "How old are you?" The question hit me like a punch. I froze. My mind went blank. I was actually just getting that from my sister. He placed the beer on a nearby table. Then he asked my name. I still assumed he might be some kind of worker or organizer, so I answered, "Jake." Then came another question. "Who are you here with?" "My sister." I remember feeling increasingly uncomfortable as the conversation continued. Eventually, I managed to talk my way away from him. But when I turned around, Alicia and Alex were nowhere in sight, and there was no way to call them. I didn't have a cell phone, so I started looking through the crowd, hoping I would spot them. I didn't. The longer I searched, the more alone I felt. Eventually, I stopped looking and walked away from the party, heading toward the woods. The noise of the party became quieter as I moved farther between the trees. I eventually found a log and sat down. For the first time that night, I was completely away from everyone. I sat there thinking about how badly I had misjudged the whole thing. I regretted coming. I regretted letting Alicia talk me into it. And more than anything, I just wanted the night to be over. Then I heard an enormous boom. A second later, the woods filled with the distant roar of hundreds of people cheering. The fireworks had started. I looked up through the trees. From where I was sitting, I could actually see the fireworks perfectly. Bright explosions spread across the darkening sky, illuminating the clearing and the branches around me for brief moments before everything disappeared back into darkness. For a while, I forgot about the party. I forgot about the awkward conversations. I forgot about the strange older man. My attention was completely absorbed by the fireworks. Then, without warning, I couldn't breathe. Something suddenly covered my mouth and nose. I panicked. I tried to scream, but the sound couldn't escape. I grabbed at whatever was wrapped around my face and struggled against whoever was behind me. My heart was pounding so hard that I could hear it. I tried pulling away. Nothing. The pressure tightened. I began to feel lightheaded. The fireworks continued exploding overhead, but from where I was on the ground, the beautiful display suddenly seemed impossibly far away. I needed something to defend myself with. Anything. I looked around desperately. My hands searched the ground until I found a large stick. I grabbed it and swung backward, trying to hit the person's leg. The attempt failed. The person didn't let go. Instead, I was pulled down and pinned against the ground, face down. For a moment, I genuinely thought I wasn't going to get away. I kept fighting, but I was losing strength. Then my hand found something else. A large stone was lying directly in front of me. I grabbed it. There wasn't time to think about what I was doing. I twisted around as much as I could and swung. The stone connected with the person's face. A grunt came from behind me. The pressure suddenly disappeared. The grip loosened. That was all the opportunity one needed. I scrambled to my feet and ran. But before I disappeared into the trees, I looked back. And what I saw stopped me for just a fraction of a second. The person who had attacked me was wearing the same thing as the strange older man who had taken my beer earlier. I didn't stay there long enough to find out whether it was actually the same man. I ran. Branches caught against my clothes as I pushed through the trees, stumbling toward the lights and noise of the party. My breathing was ragged. My body was shaking. Behind me, the fireworks continued exploding overhead, each burst briefly illuminating the darkness before disappearing again. I kept expecting to hear footsteps following me. I didn't stop to check. I just ran toward the crowd. When I finally reached the clearing, I headed straight for the people responsible for the event. I found what appeared to be the host and immediately asked if they knew the man. The response was simple. They hadn't seen him. They didn't know who I was talking about. That answer somehow made the entire situation feel even stranger. I explained what had happened. I told them that someone had grabbed me in the woods and tried to stop me from breathing. I explained that I had fought back and struck the person with a stone. One of the guys listened to the whole story. Then his expression changed. Holy __ buddy. He looked toward the others. Yeah, we're going to report this. For the first time that night, I realized how serious the situation had actually been. Until then, I'd been focused on escaping, getting back to the crowd, finding Alicia, getting somewhere safe. But standing there under the fireworks, surrounded by hundreds of people, I started thinking about what could have happened if I hadn't found that stick, or that stone, or if my swing had missed. The man had already taken my beer earlier. He had asked how old I was. He had asked my name. He had asked who I was with. And then, after I walked away from the party, someone wearing the same clothing had attacked me in the woods. I couldn't prove it was the same person. I couldn't even explain why the two encounters seemed connected. But I couldn't ignore the resemblance either. Eventually, the fireworks ended. The crowd began winding down, although many people were still drinking. Alicia and Alex were among them. By the end of the night, both of them were far too drunk to drive. That left me with a decision. So the 16-year-old who had arrived at the party barely wanting to be there ended up driving the car to the motel. The night that was supposed to be an uncomfortable adventure with my sister had become something I couldn't make sense of, and I still hadn't told my family what had happened. I never told anyone in my family about the attack. Not that night. Not afterward. I kept it to myself. At 16, I was embarrassed by the entire situation. I was embarrassed that I had gone to the party in the first place. I was embarrassed that I had been carrying a beer around. And maybe part of me didn't want anyone asking questions I couldn't answer. Who was the man? Why had he approached me? Was the person in the woods actually the same man? I had no way of knowing. All I knew was what I had experienced. A stranger had taken the beer from my hand and questioned me about my age. He had asked my name and who I was with. Later, after I wandered into the woods alone, someone attacked me from behind and covered my mouth and nose. I fought back. I hit the attacker with a stone, and when I looked back, I saw clothing that appeared to match what the older man had been wearing earlier that night. That was it. There was no dramatic explanation waiting for me. No identification. No confirmation that the two people were definitely the same. Just an unanswered possibility that has stayed with me. Looking back now, I regret not telling my family. Maybe someone could have investigated it. Maybe someone else at the event had seen the man. Maybe there were other witnesses. Or maybe nothing would have come from it at all. I'll never know. What I do know is how quickly an ordinary decision can put you somewhere you never expected to be. I had started that 4th of July with nothing to do. My sister invited me along. I almost didn't go. Then I spent hours surrounded by strangers, feeling uncomfortable and wishing I had stayed home. When I finally escaped into the woods, I thought I had found a quiet place where I could simply sit and watch the fireworks. For a few minutes, that's exactly what happened. The explosions lit up the sky. The crowd cheered in the distance. And I forgot everything else. Then someone came out of the darkness behind me. To this day, I don't know who that person was. I don't know what they intended to do. And I don't know whether the man who questioned me earlier was the same person who attacked me. The only reason I ever got back to that crowd was because, at the last possible moment, I managed to fight my way free. And that is the part of that night I still think about. Not the party, not the fireworks, not even the drive to the motel. It's the unanswered question of who was standing behind me in those woods, and what might have happened if I hadn't found that stone.